Serena, I can't tell you what this means to me. I've never dreamed of this moment, and now you feel the same way too. We must seal our feelings with a kiss. Serena, where are you? Serena!
Moon Podcast Escalation! Hey everybody, my name is Jordan D. White.
My name is Chris Sims, and welcome to Sailor Business, the podcast where we watch every single episode of the classic 1992 Sailor Moon anime and break it down scene by scene to talk about just why it is that we love this show so much. We have a great episode for you today, both a great episode of the show and a great episode of our show. We have a very special guest who is joining us, someone that I am really excited about, a cartoonist who is responsible for Nurse, and Agent 8 is your new one, right?
That's right.
Katie Skelly is here. Katie, how are you?
Good. What's happening? I'm so excited to be here.
Now, Katie, you and I met because of Sailor Moon.
We did. We sure did.
You are the only person who has ever been... you are a professional artist.
I am.
And you were foolish enough to do an art trade with me.
I did. And you know what? It wasn't foolish because I love the piece that you gave me so much.
Wait.
It was a great trade.
He drew a piece of art for you?
He did. He sure did. Chris, do you want to describe it or would you like me to?
Well, I drew Sailor Moon.
Okay.
But I couldn't remember how anime eyes work. So I got Erica Henderson, who was sitting next to me, to draw the eyes. And then she was also like, this body is all messed up. So she added a few lines to the body as well. And then I traded it to Katie for a picture of Sailor Moon and Spider-Man together that I have hanging above my computer right now.
Heroes Convention.
At Heroes Con, yeah.
That was the first time I did that show, and I loved it so much. So every time I look at it, I just have, a lovely, warm feeling.
I'm glad that you got a good souvenir.
Yeah, but you cheated. You had other people help you.
Well, Jordan, as you may know, I am not an artist.
It was like a studio process, Chris was Chris was the auteur behind it, and he just had a little help. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's right. You got a drawing from Chris Sims Studios.
Exactly.
That's what happened. Exactly. It's like a 90s issue of Wonder Woman.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Katie, what is your, aside from an ill-fated art trade with me in Charlotte, North Carolina last year, what is your history with Sailor Moon?
Oh, gosh. Well, the first time that I saw Sailor Moon, I was just starting high school, and it was on after school. It was on Cartoon Network, I believe, as part of their Toonami lineup, or it was like around that sort of time. And I just started watching it and started rushing home every day after high school to come home and watch it. And it feels like maybe I might have been a little bit too old to start getting into Sailor Moon at that time. But I just absolutely adored it. I loved all the girls. I loved all their stories. I love how completely absurd it is. And it was almost kind of like entry level sort of anime for me. And I didn't really stick around watching too much anime in my life after that. But I have just like your drawing, I have a very warm memory of Sailor Moon. It gives me a good feeling.
Well, I should note, the drawing that you did of Sailor Moon, the one that I have hanging up now, you did not, that was not my request. That was just like, I saw it on you had already drawn it and put it out as like an example of your art. And I was like, oh, I want that.
Yeah. So it worked out because I got kind of a custom piece and then you got, something that was like prefabricated for the show, because I just kind of it was my first time doing Heroes. And I think, the kind of comic work that I do might have been like a little bit different from the kind of work you might typically see at the show. So I just kind of wanted to introduce myself to the audience. And I thought the best way to do that would be to draw a whole bunch of Sailor Moon characters in my style. And that seemed to have worked out. People really responded well to that. So that was nice.
I think Spider-Man and Sailor Moon would get along pretty well.
Yes. So it's Spider-Man and Sailor Moon. And are they saying just married? Does it say just married?
It says love you, bae.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I really I'm sure we'll get into this. I'm not like a huge fan of Tuxedo Mask, but I do feel like Sailor Moon
Oh, man.
good call. I feel like, he's wisecracking and like she's kind of doofy. So I think that they would have a lot to talk about. And I think they would be like unstoppable solving crimes together.
Well, Chris, do you think Sailor Moon would go better with Batman or Spider-Man?
With Batman or Spider-Man? Well, Batman's in his 30s. So.
I don't necessarily mean in a relationship, but I know you. I mean, obviously, Batman is your favorite thing.
Yes. My favorite thing.
I'm sorry to insult him by calling him a thing.
No, I was saying you're accurate.
Okay, good.
It's like Batman's number 1 and like Oxygen is number 2. Well, I think if we're talking about like Brave and the Bold style Batman, whether it's the cartoon Brave and the Bold or the long running team up series Brave and the Bold, obviously that Batman, I would love to see a team up of like 70s Batman with Sailor Moon
with his shirt off.
Obviously, like I mean, if Batman's my favorite thing, Batman with his shirt off is like my ultimate favorite thing.
Back above Oxygen on that list too.
Yes, I think I can survive just by that Neil Adams Batman with his shirt off busting into Ra's al Ghul's tent. Like, oof, that will sustain me.
You take it on a spacewalk.
I think Spider-Man, like young 70s college student Marvel team up Spider-Man, like I feel like him hanging out with Sailor Moon is like, why has that not happened? Why is there like an Attack on Titan crossover?
Exactly. So if anyone is listening and wants to just kick me a little money to draw that, or even if you don't want to kick me a little money, I'll probably just do it anyway. It'll be perfect.
I would say the best combination would be Tokusatsu Spider-Man with Tokusatsu Sailor Moon. Just weird live action, like the Luna puppet and the giant Leopardon robot. That
Ridiculous.
Would be the best. Well, you talked about Tuxedo Mask, who I hate. Oh, I hate him so much.
Yeah.
But I will say, the next 2 episodes that we have, the one that we're doing this week, which if you'd like to watch along on Hulu or on the new DVDs, it's episode 15, Usagi's Panic, Rei's First Date. There is actually a lot of really good Mamoru stuff in this issue, or in this episode. And there's also a lot of really good Rei stuff. I know that we, and by we I mean I, have been really harsh on Sailor Mars in the past, but these next 2 episodes are actually really good Sailor Mars episodes too.
Oh, I hate her too. This one we're in 100% agreement on. I'm not as bad on Mamoru as you are, but...
Well, I figured out the problem.
What?
The problem is that, again, that the show has filler episodes. The show is, longer than the manga. So you get more, just like we got more of Usagi as kind of a crybaby in the first 7 episodes, there's more of Usagi and Rei interacting on a level that they progress past much quicker in the manga, but they have to kind of stay in this pattern, and so just like they keep being awful to each other for much longer than they did in the source material.
And this is a big one for that.
I don't have a big problem with Rei as much as you guys do. For me, as a writer, I really feel like I would enjoy writing a character like Rei, and I really enjoy watching her for that reason. So I don't know. I don't get as riled up about her as you guys seem to.
I don't think anyone gets as riled up about Sailor Mars as we do. But I do think that's I do think that's a function of the show. I think the show makes weird choices in a lot of ways, just like it makes weird choices with Mamoru. Mamoru in the manga is a lot more tolerable than Mamoru on the show because A, he's younger. He's not 38 years old. And B, he doesn't call Usagi a trash heap on the street. That is stuff that just comes in from the manga in these episodes that have, or in the anime that have no counterpart in the manga.
Well, Rei is really different as well. I mean, I've been watching these episodes in preparation for the show, and my wife Devin has been watching them with me, and she never watched the manga before, as she talked about. She never watched the anime before. She'd only read the manga. So when she's watching this episode and the boat episode and all these episodes, and Rei is boy crazy, she's just going, "What did they do? That's not what she's like at all." all. She's not boy crazy in the slightest in the comic.
Well, that said, she definitely is in this episode. The episode that's called Ray's First Date.
Yes.
She is, there is an immediate romance between Sailor Business's official two most hated characters. But I also feel like this episode that we're going to be watching is a turning point for Ray. Like, or at least it's a turning point for me going back and watching.
Okay.
Right. Because even though she's still kind of, I mean, she's still kind of mean in this episode, and she's weirdly scheming in this episode. It's in a Silver Age Lois Lane sort of way, you know?
Well, she also gets, I mean, repeatedly humiliated too. Like,
not repeatedly.
A couple of times.
You make it sound like, oh yeah, you like this episode because Ray gets crapped on.
No, but I kind of am saying that in the sense that not that I'm saying I like that she gets crapped on, but rather she becomes a character who is more vulnerable, more.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think it's the vulnerability.
Right. She's not just walking around going, I'm better than everybody else. Or I mean, she is, but then things show that she's not necessarily better than everybody else. She's human.
Yeah. And if you've been watching along with the episodes as they've gone up on Hulu, there is a much newer episode from the second season, the one where Ray is in charge of the school festival, and she is in a weirdly egomaniacal way. She is building everything around her singing a song.
Oh man, I'm just realizing I'm kind of sad that you watch them as they come out, because that means we'll never catch up with you. You're gonna.
Oh well, I mean, you've seen them all before, and I have a girlfriend.
No, I know. It's so funny to me that we're doing the show where you haven't seen all the episodes, but you're going to have seen them all before we talk about them on the show. It's just going to have.
That is true. That is true. I'm going to. I will never have a first experience with Sailor Moon on the air, as it were. I'm sorry, Jordan.
I'm weeping, but okay.
But the point of that is that in that episode, she also it's the first time that we really get a spotlight on Ray after all 5 of the Inner Senshi show up, and she has a lot of vulnerability in that too. And I think that does a lot to kind of humanize her and do more than just make her an antagonist for Usagi, who is our favorite and most relatable character. So, Katie, before we dive into the episode, who is your favorite?
My favorite, and we haven't met her yet where we are talking about at this point now, but my favorite is Sailor Jupiter. And I love Sailor Jupiter because she's basically just a big brute. When I first started watching...
How dare you?
When I first started watching Sailor Moon, it was kind of right at the end of adolescence and becoming a teenager and all that. And I was a super tomboy growing up. My sister and I were both super tomboys. But sort of watching Sailor Moon was almost like this gateway drug into femininity for me because, it's a very pastel world. It's very engrossed in girl problems and dating and being cute and keeping a good figure and all that kind of stuff. And it's super campy and I love it for those reasons now. But I related the most to Sailor Jupiter watching it because she was always kind of trying to resist that stuff. She was just kind of big and was going to push people around and she was taller than everybody. And she also always has the best hair, her hairstyle. I used to wear that all the time. So I related to her. And when she transforms, her pose is the most fashion-y. So I like that about her. So she's my favorite.
She ends up with one arm out straight, one over her head, and then her legs kind of.
It's very Vogue. I love it.
Cool. Yeah, she's a great one.
Yeah.
One other thing I want to mention before we start the episode, and I forgot, I should have mentioned it last time, but I didn't even think about it and didn't notice. If you are watching like me, if you have found it in your abilities to watch the old dub as well, with episode 14 is where begins the long run of what I think is the best Serena voice. Her name is Terry Hawks, and she rules. So I just wanted to shout her out. She's the best.
Which episode's that?
She starts with 14, but she's going to be. I think she runs through pretty much episode 80 something.
Yeah, how they changed the voices, because I remember I had the same problem with Pokemon. Which I was 27 when I was watching when I rewatched the entire first season of Pokemon. Whatever.
Nice.
Don't hate.
Never a better time.
It's fine.
I had the problem where I came back to it and there was a different voice for Ash that I thought was really off-putting.
Yeah, that can be awkward.
And it's the same way with Sailor Moon, where I think one of the reasons that I never watched longer than I did was because after I had kind of fallen out for a little bit, or maybe after they had just rerun a bunch of episodes on Cartoon Network that I'd seen a million times, I came back and there was a different voice for Usagi that was
not as good,
much more cartoonish.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I mean, and I think the third, because there's three women who did voices for Usagi. There's the one who starts; she only does like 12 episodes, 13 episodes, something like that. And then Terry Hawks does a whole bunch, and then the third voice does the most episodes, does like over 100 episodes. And so it is sort of a bummer that she's not my favorite one. She's probably my least favorite of the three. But she grows on you as you watch 100 something episodes with her voice. You go, okay, I'm used to it by now. But Terry Hawks is by far the best.
All right, and with that, we're going to dive right in to episode 15, Usagi's Panic, Rei's First Date. We have our heroine, Usagi Tsukino. She might not look like it, but she is a superhero. She's also 14 years old, a Cancer and blood type O, but they have stopped telling us that. That is no longer relevant information. She's friends with the kind-hearted girl genius Amy Mizuno and the hot-headed psychic Rei Hino, who are also sailors Mercury and Mars, respectively. They seem to have it more together than Usagi does, but oh well, she's going to do her best. Very positive attitude. I love Usagi so much.
It's so sweet. You know, it's adorable.
Her tone of voice is so awesome. That's another thing. Like, obviously I don't speak Japanese at all, but just hearing the way she says these lines is so great. She's so,
I should say,
enthusiasm.
I've got I mentioned in our last episode, I've got the DVD and I have been watching it, and I really, really like Rei's new voice. Like the dub for Rei's voice in the new DVD is really, really good.
Oh, okay. I still can't get used to it because of Luna.
I'm turning a corner on Rei, everybody.
Wow. She's going to be your favorite character by the time we finish this series, isn't she?
I mean, look, I play up the dislike of Rei. I actually like them all.
Traitor.
Wow.
Rei's a jerk, though. Rei is a jerk, as we will see. We actually open in a nice park in Tokyo, in the Juban district. Did they give a name for the park?
Let's see. I don't remember it having a name in the... No, I don't think so.
Well, I should say this episode does not have a manga counterpart. So once again, I have read the young adult novelization by Leanne Centaur that takes place in the final chapters of Sailor Moon Volume 5, Eternal Sleep. And it is just called Crossroads Park. Everything is called Crossroads because that is the name of the middle school in the American version and presumably the name of the town. So if you're wondering where they have,
they're still in Tokyo,
like
aren't they?
Tower, what's that?
I thought they would still be in Tokyo.
The name of the school is Crossroads Middle School.
Sure,
in the American dub,
but in the
novels that is extracted to be the name of the town.
Oh, that's mental.
So they have Crossroads Park. Nephite lives in Crossroads Woods.
Oh, that's so lame.
There's the Crossroads Airport.
Lame.
I actually really like the name Crossroads.
Sure,
as a town.
But it's clearly Tokyo.
Oh yeah, no, you can see the Tokyo Tower in the background of several episodes.
Right. Okay, fine. So there we are.
The Crossroads Tower. The Crossroads Radio Tower.
So, yes. So they start in this beautiful park, looking around going, oh my god, this is amazing. Both Serena and Rei, or rather Usagi and Rei, are going, this would be a beautiful place to go on a date. And Amy's like, I'd just come here and read books. You know, that's what I do.
She likes books and studying, everybody.
That's what she likes.
Lest anyone ever forget that Amy is the smart one. Like, we can never, be unaware of that.
You can't be smart unless you only date books.
Oddly enough, Amy is also friends with the caretaker of the park. Very randomly. I guess because she comes here and reads so much and she's friendly, so she talks to people.
She is a kind-hearted nerd.
She is a
whatever it says in the beginning. Genius, I guess, is the word they use.
600 IQ? 300 IQ.
No, her IQ is 300.
I'm sorry.
Common Writers is 600.
I was sorry.
Amy looks like a chump. So yeah, it turns out that the park, which you would think would be a sort of protected municipal piece of land, has been purchased by an evil development corporation. Or actually, we don't even know if it's an evil development corporation. It's just a development corporation.
Yeah.
Right.
Because obviously, living in New York City, as soon as they're in this beautiful park, I'm thinking, oh, it's like Central Park. And then they go, yeah, whoever owns it is just sold it. And it's like, wait, first of all, why would you own a park? Like, what benefit is there to owning a park?
Right.
Like, you can't make any money off of it, right? Other than sell it to development.
And wouldn't you think like someone in the city would be like, hey, maybe we should hang on to that?
Right.
Like maybe we shouldn't just sell it to developers or whoever wants it to build some other thing. Like it makes no sense. What are the zoning laws of Crossroads? I don't understand.
So he goes, yeah, they're going to tear it down. Now, this is, obviously everybody's
This
upset.
is the plot of Break-In.
Is it?
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're gonna bulldoze the youth center make it an office park.
Okay. Well, that's also the plot of this. That being said, what's weird about it is that's not the plot of the Sailor Moon story. That's the plot of like the B story. Sailor Moon herself is not that concerned with whether this park sticks around.
Well, that's one of the things. It's mentioned. It's definitely in the novel. I don't think it's in the show. It's mentioned that Usagi lives like right near this park, and meanwhile Amy lives across town. And Amy comes to the park, and this is Usagi's first time there.
Yeah.
So Usagi just does not care about this park. She's like, well, sucks to be a tree, I guess.
And then we get the best part of this scene, which is, okay, so the guy breaks them. Well, I've been taking care of all these flowers for so long, and they're going to just bulldoze them all. It's going to be terrible. It's going to be like this week, I guess. And Ray, now in the American version, she goes, that's terrible. I'm going to have to talk to Grandpa and figure out something we can do to save this park. Whereas in the original Japanese version, much better, Ray goes, that's terrible. I have to get a boyfriend immediately so I can go on a date in this park before they tear it down, because she is a conniver.
Everybody's like immediately like, oh, this park is great for dates. This is the perfect park for dates.
And again, she's not going to save it. She just goes, well, the park's going to go. So I got to get on that date thing.
Well, I think one of the more important things to note in this episode is, again, the Development Corporation is not evil. It is not like, if this was a Jedi plot, right, Jedi would have literally started a construction business and been like, I can get energy from destroying trees. It would be another weird energy plot from Jedi. In this episode, it's just a regular company that wants to build office buildings.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So Amy's like the only person who would really be affected by it in terms of her regular life, because she's using it to study, and everybody's to potentially use it maybe to like make out with a guy. That's really the only disruption, right?
Yeah, absolutely
like, even
true.
The guy who owns it, who quote or is like taking care of it, it's like, oh, it's a bummer for him.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the rest of the town, the rest of Crossroads does not really seem to care if this place is gone.
The only person who cares is the groundskeeper.
And Amy.
And only because he has put so much work into making the park beautiful.
And is completely unappreciated.
Thoroughly unappreciated. So Ray resolves to get a date to go to the park before it is bulldozed. Inevitably, before Progress crushes these beautiful flowers under its boot. And then we cut to Luna.
Yes.
Trying to get into the game center.
Wonderful.
And there is an amazing moment where Mamoru gets a literal save the cat moment.
You are right. Yes.
Now, are you familiar with Save the Cat?
Oh yeah, I've read the book. It's a wonderful book. Highly recommended.
For those of you who don't know, it's a screenwriting book, and one of the title, the idea of the title is that it's important to establish that your protagonist in a movie is a good person that the audience can relate to. And so the way to do that, the writer Blake Snyder talks about the scene in Alien where we see Ripley save a cat, and how we know like, oh, okay, she'll save a cat, she's a good person. And so the phrase "save the cat" since this book came out has become shorthand for a scene where you see the good guy doing something good.
Yeah.
Just so you can know they're a stand-up decent person. So again, this is 3 episodes after Mamoru calls Usagi a pile of trash.
You're never going to let that go, are you?
No, I'm not going to let it go.
It is a really harsh burn. Like it's not just like you're an idiot or some throwaway thing. This is like premeditated. I'm going to figure out exactly what you are and let you know, and you are a pile of trash.
It cuts to the soul. So yeah, 3 episodes after that, Luna is going into the game center. She almost gets hit by a truck, and Mamoru, in his workout gear, literally saves the cat.
Yeah, she's about to get smushed by a semi. He saves her. But here's the deal. He was great. He absolutely saved her life. He's like, oh, Oh, little cat. Like,
this is an episode's a turning point for Mamoru for me too.
Good. Okay, good.
Because he is a decent person throughout this episode.
He saves the cat, and then what happens is, in one of her lower moments, Usagi walks up going, What are you doing to my cat, jerk?
I love Usagi's reaction because she sees Mamoru holding Luna and she just starts screaming. She has her fists balled up. She stomps up to him and looks like she's about to get in a fist fight because she sees this scumbag messing with her cat.
And he says something like, she was about to get hit by a truck. And Usagi goes, that's none of your business.
I think the best thing about it is that Usagi is obviously really concerned about Luna. And so she just grabs Luna by the hands and swings her around, pulling her away from Mamoru. It's really funny.
Just holds her like that for like 50 years. Mamoru's outfit in this scene is pretty stupid.
Do you mean pretty great?
Okay. So first of all, so you like to do your workouts wearing 3 different shirts, all of them rolled up in different ways?
It's 2 shirts and a towel tucked into his shirt.
Is that a towel? I figured it looked like a hoodie underneath them all. I couldn't tell.
It's a towel.
Okay, maybe it's a towel.
It's keeping his neck cool, bro.
Yeah,
okay.
Wet, and now he's just kind of like cooling himself off with the towel, I think.
Okay. Still a pretty ridiculous outfit.
My favorite thing is that Mamoru doesn't put on like a sleeveless shirt on top and then like a t-shirt underneath, but still wanted, suns out, guns out. So he rolled up the sleeves.
Right. He's wearing, again, a t-shirt with a vest over it to work out. Why?
It's not a vest. It's like a muscle shirt.
It's a lot of look.
It does look like
it's got a V-neck.
and his surgical scrubs / sweatpants.
He does look like he's okay. He looks ridiculous. So there you are.
Oh no, he looks full on ridiculous.
So then, after that wonderful scene, great scene, we go. Then we go inside the arcade, correct?
Right, and we find out that I had previously said on the show that Mamoru and Motoki, Darien, and Andrew were roommates, and I don't know where I got that because that is not correct. They go to the same college.
Yes, they know each other. They're friends.
In the manga and in the novel, they go to the same high school. They're best friends. In the novel actually does this scene a lot deeper than it is in the show. This is essentially where you get the origin of Darien, that he lives alone, that he's an orphan, that Andrew's really worried about him because sometimes he'll disappear for a while and won't show up to school, even though he's like really smart and kind of coasting at this private school on a scholarship. So you get a lot of mystery for Darien, and this is where Ray kind of gets the hots for him. In the novel, it's not like for the show, it is an instant purely physical attraction where he's like, that dude's hot, I'm hot, we should be together, Avi. In the novel, at least, it is
it martial arts?
No. It's just she hears his sob story.
Okay, because I was going to say in the dub, that's what they changed it all to.
He's an orphan. He's a sexy orphan. And meanwhile, Usagi is playing the Sailor V game, and she kind of overhears everything, and she kind of learns, like, oh hey, maybe Darien is a complete asshole because his parents are dead.
Oh, that's funny
he's
because
had a rough life.
She clearly is not paying any attention in the cartoon.
Now, the other thing that happens in the novel is that it is very clear that Andrew and Darien are fucking.
Okay.
They are definitely a couple.
You're gonna have to explain this in detail.
The subtext in here is off the scale.
Let's hear it.
Let's see.
Do sexy voice though.
Do you want me to take it down a little bit?
Exactly. There we go.
Andrew hasn't.
You got to do your Midnight Zero voice.
Andrew hasn't seen Darien in 2 weeks. Welcome to Midnight Zero. Welcome to Love Radio. We've got a new hit song from Yusuke Amada coming up. Darien says he's been working, which is never explained what Darien's job is, which is to wear a tuxedo and throw roses at monsters. Andrew raised an eyebrow. That's not a good enough excuse to ditch your best friend for 2 weeks. I'm starting to worry that something happened to you.
It doesn't have an ellipses there, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't. That was my addition. Darien laughed. Happened to me? He repeated, pulling Andrew into a headlock. You seem to forget who beat up those punks who were picking on you last month.
Oh my God.
Andrew pulled from Darien's hold and angrily straightened his hair. It's not that I don't think you could handle yourself in a fight, he answered flatly, but I always worried about you bumping your head and passing out or something. I mean, you living alone in that big apartment makes me nervous. I'd wish you'd give a spare key to someone besides me. What if you needed help in there?
Wow.
And the scene is all about Andrew continually trying to fix his hair and Darian messing his hair up and stealing his comb.
Okay, you're right. I doubted you, but you're right.
No, it is it's full on. Darian, and then here, Andrew cried out and frantically tried to fix his hair again. Are you trying to ruin my hair today? Darian grinned. Of course. I can't let you get too pretty and outshine me.
Okay, now here's what I now believe, that there are two versions of these books. The version she turned into her publisher and the private version with the extra scenes.
Andrew snorted and pulled a comb from his pocket. Outshine you. Don't make me laugh. 4 more girls asked me last week if I could hook you up with them. Oh. I'm getting sick of rejecting them for you.
Oh my God. This is crazy.
Yeah, that's another plot point that only comes up in the novel. And it comes up later when Ray asks him out, is that when Ray asks him out, he turns around and he before she even says anything, he just notices this middle school girl running after him and he goes, I don't even have a phone, so I can't give you my number. So it is alluded to in the novel that girls are just asking Darian out constantly and he is refusing. A, because he is the fated moon lover of the Princess of the Moon Kingdom.
Right.
And B, because he is clearly in a relationship with Andrew.
Man. So, all right. Let me just briefly, before we finish the scene, I will say in the dub version, the original dub, they change it all around. So when Andrew is telling Ray about Darian, he's like, oh yeah, Darian was just on his way back from martial arts. And she's like, martial arts? I do martial arts. Like, oh my God, we're both into martial arts. And basically she gets the crush on him because of martial arts. And then the scene ends in both versions. It ends with Ray being humiliated for the first time because she has a little delusional monologue to herself about, yes, he and I deserve to be together. And Andrew is looking at her like she's a crazy person. And the stool that she is putting her leg up on falls out from her. She smacks her head on the floor, ends up writhing on the floor in pain. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, she becomes Usagi.
Yes, for just a moment there.
There's one more little bit from the novel. And I will say the rest of the novel just basically goes along with the show. So this is the last bit I'll read. This is where Serena learns Darian's name. She has never heard his name before.
Oh, wow.
She just knows him as that jerk on the street.
That's not true in the dub. Right. She actually calls him Darian all the time in dub, but in the novels.
Well, it does not make sense to not reveal this major character's name for 14 episodes.
Well, I don't think they revealed. Is this the first time we hear it in the Japanese one? I think it might be.
Is it?
No, that's what I'm saying. I think it might be. Like they never introduce him. I don't think.
Yeah, he's just a guy on the street who will call you a stupid pile of trash.
Yes, exactly.
Make fun of you for riding a kiddie train at an amusement park.
Well, she made fun of him for that too.
But there's a great line where she overhears them all talking about how lonely he is and how he refuses to date, even though he's obviously beautiful. An orphan, she thought. He doesn't have a family. She clutched the joystick. She knew half the guy's life story when 15 minutes ago, she hadn't even known his name. Darian, she whispered under her breath. She hated how good it felt to say the word.
Aww.
So yeah, full on 50 Shades of Tuxedo Mask.
Destined Moon Lovers.
We really have to get Leanne Centaur on the show.
That'd be great. So, speaking of anything.
Speaking of beautiful hair.
Yes, cut to Nephite in his creepy palace. You know what? Did we skip the first scene of this creepy palace? Long story short, we find out that, shockingly, the person who is about to come into their peak energy of their entire life is this old gardener. You know what? I'm gonna kind of be skeptical of this. This old gardener who's about to lose his job, the stars say, yes, this is his moment. This is his moment to shine. I just don't believe it.
Yeah. Are you saying it might be a convenience of the plot? Are you saying that something that happens on Sailor Moon might be slightly illogical?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Oddly enough.
And exist only in the service of giving them an adventure to fight?
Go on.
So
it's an interesting theory, Jordan, but I'm not sure I buy it.
Well, at any rate, Nephite believes it. He shows up at the park, finds the old man, does some rigmarole about, being on his side, and then goes like, demons of Negaverse, possess this hat. And they possess his hat. One of the things that happens a lot in this episode, and I mean a lot, is that people talk about humans who are ostensibly supposed to be human. In this scene, Nephite keeps going, yeah, let me guess, you're upset because humans don't care about nature, and humans are going to destroy the park, and humans don't care about all the flowers you grew. And, like, the gardener's not like, as opposed to what? Like, what? Yes, humans. What
As
are you
opposed to the
do?
wildlife, Jordan.
Oh, okay. Right. Well, the squirrels, they come in later.
The army of vicious squirrels stalking through Crossroads Park.
Because even later, when Mamoru learns that they're about to tear down the park, he literally says, I think humans should take better care of nature. And I'm like, you're human. What do you mean? I don't know. It's very weird the way they keep saying, and that's all I have to say about that.
Well, it's almost humans or anybody other than the cast that we just see on the show regularly. Like someone should have, stepped in to save this park, but none of the main characters of the show should have done it. They can just cast judgment on all the other people who didn't do anything to help.
Right, sure.
So the Nephite's evil crest gives the groundskeeper the ability to control animals and also makes him super pissed off.
Yes.
It basically turns him into poison ivy, but with rodents instead of plants.
Sure.
So he attacks all the humans and drives them off. And again, I just want to point out, not an evil construction company.
Right.
Just people doing their jobs.
Regular construction company, and they get attacked by butterflies who destroy all of their equipment.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's very nurse. It made me so happy to see that. I was like, did something get inside my brain from watching this like 10 years ago that I put into the comic, But I love that it's like these super benevolent, cute creatures that are suddenly evil and capable of like destroying machinery somehow. I love that.
So back on the streets the next day, I guess, Ray has a plan. She has gone full on Lois Lane. She has found out what route Mamoru takes walking home, and she is going to arrange an incident where she will she's arranged to meet cute, basically. And we see it play out, and then it's revealed to be her fantasy of how she thinks things are going to go. She's going to step around the corner, bump into Mamoru. He's going to apologetically offer to buy her a cup of coffee, and then presumably they are going to get married.
Yep.
They're going to go to the park and then get married, which is the sequence of these two episodes. While this is happening, so we see like Ray just, in the words of Hawkeye, straight up creeping. Like leaning around the corner, waiting in ambush. And Serena is walking home, having stopped off to get an ice cream, and she sees it and she's like, oh my God, I gotta see what's going on here. This is weird.
Oh, by the way, just briefly, Luna is chastising her, saying she's gonna get fat.
Yeah, I'm surprised she doesn't pull out that drawing again. Remember we talked about this?
Yep. All right. So as you said, so Ray enacts her plan. She goes for it. She pops out from around the corner. She trips over an uneven street stone, whatever you call it, on pavement, falls flat on her face, and Mamoru steps on her head. This is probably the best possible outcome, I think, from this.
It's great.
It's pretty amazing.
And the best part about it is that Usagi sees all this, like it has stopped on the street, and he just like sits down and is watching this with a very big smile.
Ray is like sustaining a lot of head injuries in this episode.
That's true.
Because when she slips, maybe she's like in a concussion even when they go on their date. But like when she slips in the arcade, I noticed this like when I was watching it, there's like a huge dent in one of the machines from where she hit her head. So she must be just like, she's all effed up right now. Poor Ray.
It's true. So now there are two alternate versions in the two versions I watched. Both of them are awesome, and I can't decide which one I like better. Original Japanese version, he steps on her head and he goes, "Are you okay?" And she goes, "Yeah, I'm fine." And he goes, "Oh, okay," and he keeps walking.
Which is weird, because if he would have looked down and seen two blonde ponytails, he would have gone, "What are you doing laying face down the street, stupid?"
No, let me tell you the English
pork
version.
Buns in the sewer.
The English version, he steps on her head and she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's all my fault." And he goes, "I know," and he keeps walking.
That's pretty great.
That was a pretty good one. So it's a tough call. Which is better?
So she is, to be fair, Ray is very determined. She gets up and goes through with the plan anyway. She says she gives him permission to call her by her first name. Immediately, step one. She asks if he's hurt, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
And and when he says no, she goes, "Well, let me make it up to you by buying you a cup of coffee." And he's like, "Make up for what?" And she goes, "For making you step on my head." She's really she is sticking to her plan.
And it totally works because he agrees to it, oddly enough. And they walk off arm in arm. Which
Usagi flips out.
Yes.
And claims that she's flipping out because he's too old for her. And according to her student handbook, a relationship between a younger girl and an older man is unacceptable.
Her student handbook said so.
Yeah, I need to get one of those. I would love to have a book that just told me like what was wrong and what was right in every situation in life.
There is a book like that, Katie. It's called the Bible.
Oh, that's right. I threw mine in the trash.
You didn't know that that's where Sailor Business was going this week.
And now I'm here to talk to you about the Lord. Here we go. Just a little shit.
Listen, we've had a lot of fun, but there's only one legendary silver crystal.
Oh my God.
So Ray and Mamoru hit up the coffee shop, and now it is Usagi's turn to be a creep as she commando crawls next to Cafe Amigo, which I think is a great name, and spies on them through the window. She can't hear what they're saying, so she wants to use the Luna pen to transform into a waitress.
Sensible.
Now, in the dub, Luna just says, Usagi, you can't do that. That is not what the Luna pen is for.
Right.
And Usagi's just like, yeah, I'll just use it for a minute. It's fine. That's what it says in the subs. In the dub, there's a really great joke. She's like, I'll use this. I'll turn into a waitress. And Luna goes, Usagi, you can't use that. You can't use the Luna pen for this. It can only be used for good. And Usagi says, so I'll be a good waitress.
Yeah, as long as she says, transform me into a good waitress.
Transform me into a totally good waitress. Fortunately, she doesn't have to go through all that because Umino shows up, also like crouched down behind the bushes, wondering what his crush is doing, just trying to hide on the street.
So she decides to toy with his heart.
She really does. It is a bad look for Usagi.
She makes him take her on a date into the same place. In the original American version, he talks about getting his favorite kind of milkshake, which is a vanilla with prune milkshake.
He's a nerd.
Yeah, nerds like prunes.
They don't eat normal food.
Of course. Exactly.
They're not like real people.
So they're spying on them. Even so, she doesn't really get a good listen to them, right? Like she still can't quite. And then nothing really happens.
Yeah, she still can't really hear them because they're in another booth. Right. So fortunately, Amy shows up. Who is also this is a high traffic area in the Juvan district, and Luna is like, oh my god, Amy, you are the only person who has any sense on this team. I am just going to hang out with you for a while. Let's go to the park. They head over to the park. The groundskeeper is actually getting some good news. And this is the point of the show where the Negaverse, the Dark Kingdom, does something that is presented as indisputably good. They save the park.
Yeah, does not happen in the original American version. In the original American version, they totally changed the scene so that it is the exact opposite. That guy is sitting there going, they're still putting up a building, so you're still fired. I'm here to say nothing has changed.
In the original,
he goes,
the butterfly attack was so severe.
Those people are out of a job.
Given up plans for millions of dollars of construction.
Right.
This is Tokyo real estate. So then the guy who I guess is the park manager, the Benson of the show, walks away smoking a cigarette and just throws a full lit cigarette on the ground, and a squirrel sees it, and the squirrel is like, oh no. Oh, hell no.
Yeah, you did not just do that.
Don't you know that only you can prevent forest fires?
And he gets mauled by squirrels. Well, we don't see him get mauled, but he does get mobbed by squirrels.
Mauled by squirrels is a good episode title. Write that down.
Okay. No, they don't see this though. No, Luna and Amy don't see this yet. Okay.
Luna and Amy do see it. They see him get attacked by squirrels.
They do see that. Okay.
And Luna goes, "Oh, it's the Dark Kingdom."
Good.
Immediately goes, "Oh yeah, squirrels don't do that. By the way, I'm a talking cat, so."
But she's magic, so therefore,
I do really like this scene because I like that it shows how far gone the people that Nephite attacks get with their power, like how taken over they are. Because I was about to say Katie Skelly, but that's who we have on the show. Katie Sandler in our last episode,
right.
Rui. She still has to practice for the upcoming tennis match. right? Like she still has her motivation for using her evil tennis powers. In this episode of the show, the groundskeeper's only motivation is to protect the park. That's done. That has happened. Well, he has gotten everything he wants.
I was gonna say I remember there being a line where Amy's upset because like he told her, don't come around and read books in the park anymore, jerk. Like that's not what it's for, or something like that. Which was like, what? Like now he wants the park all to himself in addition to
it's like pushed him over from being mad at the construction company to being mad at humanity. Like he just wants the park to be taken over by animals and plants, which I actually really like because it's like he is no longer justified. Like I think attacking the construction equipment with butterflies is almost completely justified for him.
Right.
As someone who favors parks and is anti-capitalism.
So Ray and Mamoru are out on the lake, romantic boat ride. Now the weird thing about this is I just will touch briefly on it. Basically, the entire date so far has been a con on Ray's part, where he just kind of goes, oh, okay, I guess I'll get coffee with you. How does she talk him into this boat? Like he's like, oh yeah, got no reason not to get in a boat, I guess, and row out into the middle of the lake. At any rate,
she's got that short skirt, she's got that short uniform skirt. We talked about it with Donna.
She looks very mature.
He's going to be real upset when he finds out she's 14.
She's wearing a school uniform.
Yeah, but it's from the TA Academy.
So she's they're out in the middle of the lake. Usagi's spying on them, grimacing and groaning, and
she has brought Umino to make out point.
Yes. So he thinks, rightly so, that they're going to make out, and there
are multiple romance cons going on in this episode.
This is the Much Ado About Nothing, or no, the Midsummer Night's Dream episode. So he thinks they're going to make out. He tries to. Turns out she has. Speaking of last episode, she's Batmaned away. She's gone. She slipped away, not wanting to make out with a nerd.
Been there.
So Usagi runs into Amy, and Amy's like, something's wrong, and Luna's like, something's wrong, and Usagi's like, yes, something's wrong, like Ray's on a date. Then like you said, this is the part where you really see it. Amy's gardener friend just sees them in the park and turns into a Dragon Ball character for a moment. He just goes because they're in the park, and then his hat turns into a monster.
Hat monster. Groundskeeper hat monster. Park hat monster.
What's weird
this is not as weird as it's going to get next week.
No,
I will tell you that for free. But yeah, I actually really like the monster is basically Swamp Thing.
Yeah, except an attractive woman Swamp Thing.
Yeah, it's Lady Swamp Thing. But I really like how it's this fearsome, swamp monster looking thing, and then just like pink butterflies, and it's got like big dangly earrings. It's so weird.
Park thing.
Yeah, it's a pretty park monster.
Also, her laugh reminded me of Betty's laugh. Betty Fallon, previous guest.
Betty Fallon?
Yes.
The monster attacks using its hand, which is a flower, and its hair, which are vines. Out in the lake, the boat is capsized. Both Darien and Ray, or Mamoru and Ray, sense evil.
Yeah, he has his tuxedo sense, goes off. that I guess that she's in danger, I'm assuming.
Or that there's, Dark Kingdom stuff going on.
Yeah, I guess.
It's evil sense.
I think it's just that he senses when Sailor Moon's in danger.
You want to make it sound more romantic than it is. Look, I said I like Mamoru in this episode. Let's not go crazy.
Right. One time.
So Amy gets all bondaged up by the vine hair.
Mm-hmm.
And
Usagi gets tied up by the flower hand. And it looks like there's no way for them to get out, except all of a sudden someone shoots fire at them to free them.
Handy that they have someone who can do that. Amy actually gets a really cool scene where the fire, the fire comes in and she just breaks out of the vines like Superman breaking the chains.
Whereas Usagi gets this ridiculous
Usagi gets
scene.
set on fire.
She's on fire and has to roll and put it out. And it's like, wonderful. And then Mars and Mercury make the Sailor Moon speech, and they tell the monster that they're going to punish her. And Sailor Moon freaks out. It's like, you stole my line.
And the great thing is, because they both have grievances with the monster. Amy is the one who cares about the park, and Ray is really upset about her date being interrupted.
Right.
Ray has the worst pose in this little sequence. She's got this weird, turned around, slightly bent over, looking over her shoulder. thing. It's really bad. It's animated weirdly.
Okay.
It's not a good look.
And they've stolen Sailor Moon's catchphrase. They're fighting.
Got that IP, bro. Got that IP infringement.
Yeah, she's upset. They said they will punish her. That's not right. That's just not right. And guess what? While they're fighting the monster, while they're fighting a plant monster, a rose hurts the plant monster.
It's like Mega Man 2, bro. Like if you hit Metal Man with the metal blade, it's only like 2 hits.
Is that how it is? Okay.
If you hit a flower monster with a flower, it's like really extra damage.
Okay. I would have thought it would cancel, but all right. And the Tuxedo Mask is there.
That's why you're not Tuxedo Mask.
Yeah, I guess. I'm all backwards about it.
You don't have the evil sense and formal wear of Mamoru Chiba.
And he says, go for it. Kill the monster. And she goes, good idea. I'll do that now that you've mentioned it. She does her
cool
tiara.
Thanks for the tip. Been doing this for several months now.
Well, she didn't think of it yet. Anyway, so she throws the tiara. She kills the monster. The old man regains his energy. His hair turns back from white to black again. Everything is okay. Am I missing anything else?
Mamoru returns
dripping wet
out of his formal wear, and Ray leans over to Usagi and goes, "He's Tuxedo Mask, by the way."
And she spazzes out.
Which again, like I said, she is full Lois Lane in this episode. She's like, "He's Tuxedo Mask,"
and Usagi freaks out. No, absolutely not. That's totally not true because he's a jerk, and Tuxedo Mask is super nice. Obvious.
And Ray goes, "They look exactly alike." And he was nice to me when I conned him into this date. So I'm pretty sure he's Tuxedo Mask.
But before they can definitively solve that, out pops Umino going, "Hey, what about the rest of our date, Serena?"
Wow, nice.
And she goes, "But then we weren't on a date."
I like that that Mamoru is like, "Oh, that's the kind of guy you're into."
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. He's just like, "Oh, it sounds like you and him were on a date, right?" She's super embarrassed. Again, I think it's awesome because knowing that they're going to end up together, it makes that scene perfect.
Knowing that Usagi and Umino are going to get together?
No. That was just one time. That was a one-time deal for this episode only.
It was meaningful. It was more meaningful than you're giving it credit for.
He probably will call her his first girlfriend for the rest of his life, yes, but I don't think she would count it.
So yeah, I actually like this episode. This is not one that I would recommend. Like, this is not a starting point.
No,
I don't think. It is a weird episode. It is so weird for so many reasons.
But it's super fun.
No, it's really fun. Like I said, I really like it. And again, I actually think this episode is a turning point for Ray and for Mamoru. Like, they're not nearly as bad, or I guess they're not nearly as mean to Usagi as they have been. The next episode, though, it's gonna be even weirder than this one. But yeah, I like this one a lot. Katie?
I love this one. I love, like I said, I love that sort of like supernatural element that's lent to these very benevolent, like cute creatures in the park. I love the whole storyline of the park because it's so bizarre. And at the end of it, when the groundskeeper is waking up, I think Amy tells him, you just had a bad nightmare, right?
Right.
But like, even if it was just a bad nightmare, everything that he wanted is in place, even though he was sort of possessed in order to make that happen. So I love that. I also think like the colors in this episode are particularly beautiful. I love that the park is like all of these peachy pink colors. It's very surreal, but it's really beautiful.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of kind of dodgy animation in this episode, but like in terms of setting, I do think we see a lot of settings that we haven't seen before, which is nice. We see Cafe Amigo,
right,
which I like a lot, which is a really fun, bright, poppy scene. We see the park. It's not the school and Usagi's house and the street. And, I mean, we do have a scene in the game center, but we do get a lot of really distinct looking, really pretty settings, even though the animation is weird. Very forgettable monster, though. Not a big fan of the monster
park thing.
Yeah, it seemed like kind of this afterthought. There are a lot of, like, looking back on it, there are a lot of scenes where I remember Ray being sort of like bigger than Darien.
Her head is bigger than Darien's, which I think is hilarious. Her head is like 1.5 times the size of Darien's.
I definitely noticed that.
So it is like he is being assaulted on the street by an anime character.
Ooh, what a nightmare.
So, Jordan, do we have the actual moral from the original anime?
Yeah, here it is. Let me turn up the volume and play it.
Nature's a blessing we mustn't take for granted. We're not the only ones living here, you know?
Oh,
Well, I'm glad you noticed. It's easy to forget. Paper comes from trees. There are lots of ways to save on paper. Try using reusable cups and utensils instead of the disposable kind. And make sure your parents and friends recycle so those paper products are processed into something else. Let's keep our trees in the parks, not in the waste dump.
Wow.
Well, it's nice to see that Usagi has discovered weed.
What?
Hey, man. There's like animals in nature, okay? Paper comes from trees, man.
By hemp. She's having like Woody Harrelson moment. But it's like there's nothing in the episode that's like, oh, like let's care about nature now. You know? Like there's no, it's all this condemnation of other people like not protecting the park. And then at the end it's like, P.S., you know, get some real dishes and like wash them occasionally.
No, I mean,
so now it's the time of the show where we talk about what we learned.
Okay.
It's time for Sailor Business Says. Katie, what did you learn from this episode of Sailor Moon?
I think I learned that you shouldn't take advantage of nerds because they're just going to keep coming back and, you know, telling you that they bought you milkshakes, and it's just not worth it. Just don't even mess with nerds ever.
Don't even mess with nerds ever. Wow. Thanks, Katie. That's real cool. It's a real cool moral. I mean, I do agree with you, but still.
I guess we're lucky she's on this episode with us.
Yeah, right.
Jordan, what did you learn from this episode?
I mean, I learned that you can will your way onto a date with anyone just by like wanting it bad enough, apparently. Like the person just has no interest in you whatsoever, and you can end up on a romantic boat ride with them boating you across a lake.
It's weird that you two learned opposite lessons.
Right.
We have to have a battle if I can will her onto a date, I guess. There we go.
I learned that even an evil force like the Dark Kingdom can accomplish some good things almost purely by accident. Like saving a park that the heroes of the story did not give a shit about.
You call that a good thing? Like, how many people lost their jobs, Chris? Because they can't make this building.
My question is,
that construction company is going under now because they lost this contract.
The park is ostensibly saved, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's what happens at the end. Mm-hmm. But don't you think it's going to get out? Like, there's going to be multiple people going, yeah, don't go to Crossroads Park. I got attacked by animals there multiple times.
Right.
I got attacked by butterflies. I didn't know that was possible. And so it's just going to be the groundskeeper like working on his flowers being like, sweet, awesome.
Yeah.
No humans.
Except he's going to lose his job. They're not going to pay him to do that. They're going to be like, no, nobody's allowed to come to the park.
So that about does it for this episode of Sailor Business. I hope you had fun with this one. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
We will be back next week with another one.
2 weeks.
Oh, in 2 weeks. Okay. We will be back in 2 weeks with another episode. Katie, you're going to join us for that.